Bring the lights down low, time to start the show. Lights, camera, you know what we mean. Behold the magic of the silver screen. Some movies rock, some movies shock. They're powerful or odd. We cover them all on your favorite pod. They're dramatic, funny, sometimes scary. That's not weird, that's extraordinary. I got the need and I've got a fever. So play me a little dream weaver. Life moves pretty fast. Some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no last. It's the 30-something movie podcast. Be excellent to each other. Peace out and word to your mother. They're from the best decades. Movie magic that never fades. Lightsabers clash, phasers set to stun. Action-packed from dusk till dawn. We have deep thoughts and questions 3. Come share our love of the movies we see. Life moves pretty fast. Some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no last. It's the 30-something movie podcast.
Pat, are you there, Pat?
I am here.
Pat, you're there. It's me. It's Podcast Guy.
Cable guy. Cable guy. Cable guy.
I was to start knocking on the microphone, but I don't know what that would do if I. Yeah, it's not quite the same. I don't have the full setup of like a shock jock radio DJ here, where I can start grab like a thin sheet of metal and make thunder sounds and stuff like that. Yeah. Yes, it is. It's Cable Guy. It's the Jim Carrey. I feel like we exploded with a big example of Jim Carrey stuff. What was that? Was that already a year ago? We had like an entire month of Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Was that 2024? I think that was 2024 because wasn't it? We did Ace Ventura. We did a little bit In Living Color. We did The Mask. We did Dumb and Dumber. Like the entire month was Jim Carrey month.
Yeah.
It was September of 2024. Gosh, that went fast. Okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
But yes, so this was there, and I'm trying to remember now, was there a Jim Carrey movie that we did this last year?
Batman.
There was, yes, the Batman Forever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, because I was trying to remember, we had so many in 1994, 2024. I was like, I don't feel like we had anywhere near as, but maybe he was tired at that point. I'm like, when you do that many, like at some point you got to be like, I need a slight break here.
Yeah.
Because that is like, what was it? 4 movies in a year or something crazy. But again, this is like at the time in his career when he is just absolutely on fire.
Yeah.
When he was finishing up In Living Color, when he had Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and then Batman Forever. I think it was Batman Forever. Oh yeah, we didn't cover that one. This last year, 1995, would have been Batman Forever and Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls.
Right.
Let's here, a public service announcement for the folks out there. Real quick, if for some reason anybody listening to this is, I don't know, let's say under the age of 17 or 16, and you can't drive yet, and you want to go see a Jim Carrey movie, and so your mom agrees to drive you, but she's also going to go see the movie with you.
Uh-oh.
Don't go see Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls with your mom.
Are you speaking from experience, John?
I might be speaking from experience, and there might be a few scenes in that movie where you're watching and going, why am I sitting next to my mother in this movie theater?
Yeah. Yeah, that's rough. That's hard.
Allow me to share. This is, well, you know what? Let me be your Cybok. Let me share my pain with you, and we can grow stronger from the sharing together.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, yes, I think he was probably exhausted after 1994 because in 95 he was Batman and Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls, and then 96 it was Cable Guy, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And actually in 97 he did Liar Liar, and that was the only thing he did in 97. He had a bunch of movies that he did in 98. But, 90s, 95, 96, 97, especially 96 and 97, those were kind of, I've made some millions. Let me maybe just do one movie a year.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a deal. So,
and really focus on that.
Right. And so, this too, as we get into it, this is a slightly different movie, kind of, than what he's done up to this point. And so it's, we'll talk about that a little bit. Very quick, we spoil as we talk about movies here. So if we mention a movie, you don't want to hear about it, maybe just hit that skip button once or twice. We should have moved past it at that point. Make sure you visit our website, 30podcast.com. We have at this point close to, I don't even know, like 700 and some episodes between the Patreon stuff that we've got going on over there. If you want to join us over there, there are some episodes that are available if you are a paying member over at Patreon, and that really helps us out. Helps to just, we're not making oodles of money with this thing. We're just trying to cover the costs of being able to host and run the show with the server costs and the hosting costs and all those other things. That's all that's there for. And so if you love the show, if you're enjoying it and you want to give back in some way, if you have the means to be able to do that, because I know not everybody does, then that is always very much appreciated. And if you don't, just let other people know. Like, let somebody else know if you've enjoyed an episode or two that we've done. Share it with somebody else so that they can hear more about it, because the more people we get in on just the conversations and the talking about movies, the more fun we have, the more fun you have. And there's enough crummy stuff going on in the world. Let's have some fun and let's talk about some movies.
Yes.
So, trivia for this one. This one came out June 14th, 1996. We last week had just talked about The Phantom, which I believe came out just the week before this. So, yeah, June 7th was when The Phantom came out. And so the next weekend, you had The Cable Guy came out. This one was rated PG-13, a runtime of 1 hour and 36 minutes, directed by Ben Stiller. Yes, that Ben Stiller, who also directed Reality Bites and Zoolander. Writer was Lou Holtz Jr., and he had a few different credits here and there, but Judd Apatow, who later would become a director in his own right, he would do some writing, he'd be a producer. He was a producer on this one, did Anchorman, and Andrew Licht was also a producer on several Judd Apatow kind of linked movies. Jeffrey A. Mueller had some kind of smaller production credits in the 90s and 2000s. Composer John Ottman did the Usual Suspects music and X-Men 2. I believe he also did the music for Superman Returns, if I remember correctly. He's got a great kind of rendition that he does of the Planet Krypton theme from John Williams. So that was probably one of my favorites off of that album. Cinematographer is Robert Brinkman, who did Race with the Devil from 1975 and Hollywood Boulevard. Editor was Steven Weisberg, who did Get Shorty and Sweet Home Alabama. Production company was Columbia Pictures and Lichtmuller Film Corporation. The budget for this one was $47 million. Box office was $102.8 million. Flickmetrics gives it a 62%, and CinemaScore gives it a C+. Or if you're the teacher in the dream sequence in Christmas Story, C+++++. C+. That is not what Ralphie wanted on his theme. He expected it A++++++. Starring Jim Carrey, who played Chip Douglas, or the Cable Guy. He was also in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and The Mask. Matthew Broderick was Steven Kovacs. He was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Producers. Leslie Mann was Robin Harris. She was in The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up. Jack Black was Rick. He was in School of Rock and Nacho Libre. Did you tell them someone stole the chips? Did you tell them they were the Lord's chips? Have you seen Nacho Libre?
I don't think I have.
I think you would enjoy that one.
I think as I'm thinking it through, I'm like, I have not seen this, but yeah, okay.
It's a fun one. I think you'd really enjoy it. That one has been like that quote from the movie has become something that my daughter and I use regularly here in the house. Okay. Because in our house, having grown up in Texas, in our house, the day is not complete unless there are tortilla chips somewhere in the house. And from time to time, we run out of tortilla chips. And so if they go missing or if we run out, oftentimes one of us will look at the other and be like, did someone finish the chips? Yeah, I think somebody finished the chips. And there's a line in the movie where, because Nacho Libre, he works as a monk in this abbey, and he's kind of the cook for the rest of the monks. He's not a very good cook, but they have, I think in one of the scenes, he makes some kind of a dip or some kind of like a nacho cheese or something, and they have like the tortilla chips, because this takes place in Mexico. And at one point, he talks about somebody coming and stealing all of their tortilla chips from the abbey.
Right.
And one of the priests that's there, he's like, someone stole the chips? Like, yes, they stole the chips. Did you tell them they were the Lord's chips? And so in our household, if we're out of chips, somebody's like, are we out of chips? Yes. Did you tell them they were the Lord's chips? And
That's
so
awesome.
And so now, because sometimes the children end up stealing a lot of our food and eating it, as children do. And so there's even right now, the children have their own peanut butter because they go through peanut butter like, I don't know, like they need it to survive. So currently on one of the jars of peanut butter in one of the cabinets, I wrote in permanent marker on the top, this is the children's peanut butter. Did you tell them that this was the children's peanut butter? So that has become kind of like a running gag in the kitchen at our house.
That's awesome.
I say all that to say, I think you would really enjoy Nacho Libre.
Right. I see the connection. Yeah.
No. George Siegel was Earl Kovacs, Steven's dad. He was in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and The Owl and the Pussycat. Diane Baker was Steven's mom. She was in Silence of the Lambs and Marmee. Harry O'Reilly was Steven's boss. He was in some smaller film and TV roles. Misa Koprova was Heather. She was in some other 90s comedies and dramas. Eric Roberts plays himself. He was in The Dark Knight and Runaway Train. Janine Garofalo was the Medieval Times waitress. My Lord. She was in Reality Bites and The Truth About Cats and Dogs. They didn't have utensils in medieval times, my Lord, but they had Pepsi.
I like to work here. This is shift or something, however she says it.
Yeah. Like, look, dude, my shift is just about over, right? Andy Dick plays the medieval times host. He was in News Radio and The Pickle Movie. Owen Wilson is Robin's date. He was in Wedding Crashers and Midnight in Paris. So Jim Carrey reportedly received $20 million for this one, and I believe that was the record at the time for a comedy movie salary for his performance in this movie. So $20 million, because I do remember at one point in time he was the highest paid comedy movie actor in Hollywood.
Wow.
So
Wow. That's incredible.
The movie was financially profitable. So critics gave it mixed reviews, but it was profitable. It made more than double its $47 million budget worldwide.
Oh, there you go.
So good job. The movie is a bit darker than what Jim Carrey had done up to this point. Usually a little bit more slapstick, but this one had some like black comedy elements, thriller elements. Some people even kind of wanted to consider this like a horror movie, almost like a psychological thriller kind of horror movie. And it is, as we get to talking about it, it is kind of an interesting movie. There's moments where it starts to lean towards a bit of a misery type movie, a bit of what are some of those others I'm thinking of? Like Hand That Rocks the Cradle kind of a movie. There's a bunch of others that it kind of has the same feel as, that are definitely darker. And so you kind of get the idea that maybe they were leaning towards something like that, but they were also told, hey, wait a minute, audiences are coming to see Jim Carrey, so we can't like flat out murder people in this movie. And I think maybe that might be part of the reason why it got different reviews from critics and why its cinema score was not a very good score. C+ is not typically great for a comedy. And so I wonder if part of that is true. Like people were expecting, oh yeah, this is going to be like Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, The Mask. And then it's not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I remember all of that when this came out. Jim Carrey getting paid an exorbitant sum of money.
Yeah.
The fact that it wasn't a comedy strictly, very interesting.
Because I know we'll get into more of this later, because he's funny, but in a different way than Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber and The Mask. He's funny, but it's an unsettling funny. And it's jokes and reference, like jokes and references and things like that, that I think on purpose, you know, that you always say comedy is about timing. And I think that some of the jokes and some of the other stuff, it's like the joke lands on the audience maybe a second or two later than what you would normally expect if you're going to think that this is hilariously funny. It's like the joke lands at almost like a little bit of an awkward offbeat. And I think you're kind of like, is that funny or am I creeped out? And I think that's part of it. I think that's the well done part of this movie is I think you're supposed to be unsettled in this movie.
Yeah.
Even though it's Jim Carrey, even though there's comedy, all that other stuff, it's just, I think the tone is supposed to throw you off a bit. And I think because it does, I think that part of this is done really well.
Yes. Excuse me. Agreed. Everything you say, I agree with.
In a world where TV addiction meets social awkwardness, cable installer Chip Douglas wants one thing: friendship. When Steven Kovacs politely refuses, Chip's relentless quest to connect turns hilarious, invasive, and dangerously obsessive. From free premium channels to life-ruining vendettas, this is not your everyday buddy comedy. It's The Cable Guy.
Cable Guy!
Let's do this.
Slip the cable guy $50. He'll give you all the movie channels for free.
You're offering me a bribe. What you have just done is illegal. And in this state, if convicted, you could be fined up to $5,000 or spend 6 months in a correctional facility.
Oh, please, no, that was dumb. I was just making conversation.
I'm just jerking your chin. I'll juice you up.
For Steven Kovacs,
Hey! You guys play here too? Cool.
the price of cable just went up.
Okay, Chip Douglas, you're on my team. Let's play.
No way. I'm on Steven's team.
Now,
We're not friends. I don't even know you. Well, let's fix that.
he's got a friend he can't control.
Where are we going?
Only the finest restaurant in town. Can I have your skin? Check this out. Silence of the Lambs.
I just don't have any room in my life for a new friend.
So, what are you trying to say?
A friend who will not be ignored.
I gave you free cable.
The guy is a sociopath. He leaves messages on my machine night and day.
If you're there, pick up. Pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up.
He shows up wherever I go. He won't leave me alone.
He's gonna need some tough love.
There's Steven Kovacs in here.
I'm Steven Kovacs. I didn't do anything. Just call my cable guy.
At least look into it. Nobody named Chip Douglas works for the cable company.
Suspicious, isn't it?
You're all being fooled by him. He's a lunatic and he's a felon.
Don't mess with me.
Come back here so that I may brain thee. I'm here for you.
Don't do that. You're gonna get me killed.
Oh, Billy.
Jim Carrey, Matthew Broderick, the Cable Guy.
Okay, I'm going. Take off.
Okay, that is where I think when you watch or listen to that trailer, that is where I can see why audiences were like, what am I watching here?
Right.
Because you listen to that trailer and you're like, this is going to be slapstick. It's going to be crazy. Like, listen to the music in the trailer. I'm like, this is you might as well have, what was it, Benny Hill that would like run between the doors in the hallway. And you might as well have stuff like that going on for what the music sounds like. It sounds circus-like. And when you probably got to this movie and saw it in the theater, I don't remember seeing it in the theater, but when you got here, you're probably sitting down, you're watching this movie and you're thinking, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
This is not the crazy, quirky, slapsticky Jim Carrey I was promised.
Yes.
So I can see where that might have hit people just a little differently.
Right.
So, all right, 10 major moments. Let's do a quick overview of the movie, give you 10 major moments to sum this one up. Steven Kovacs is already having a rough time when the movie opens up. His marriage proposal blows up in his face. His relationship with Robin collapses, and he's left picking up the pieces by moving into a new apartment. He's lonely, he's vulnerable, and not exactly in the headspace to deal with anyone intense, which makes what comes next especially unfortunate for him. Because following his buddy Rick's advice, Steven slips the cable installer a bribe for some free premium channels. That installer is Chip Douglas, who immediately takes things way too far. What Steven sees as a casual transactional favor, Chip sees as the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And he latches on big time. Chip insists on hanging out, and Steven awkwardly kind of goes along with it. During a visit to the city's massive satellite dish, Chip opens up about his childhood. There was an absent father and a mother who let television raise him. It's kind of a sad, revealing moment that kind of explains some of Chip's obsession with TV and his warped understanding of relationships, even if Steven doesn't fully clock how big of a red flag this is at the moment.
Yes.
Kind of what starts as an awkward friendliness then turns into full-on intrusion. Chip monopolizes Steven's time, alienates his friends, leaves endless answering machine messages, generally refuses to read the room. Steven kind of becomes increasingly uncomfortable. His passive nature kind of keeps him from drawing a firm line, but that only encourages Chip to continue taking this further. Chip installs a wildly expensive home theater system in Steven's apartment as a gift. Instead of being grateful, Steven finally kind of pushes back, realizing how inappropriate this gesture might be, and that kind of builds the tensions up into a party that Chip hosts for his preferred customers, quote-unquote preferred customers, which spirals into a disaster when Steven sleeps with a woman that Chip hired, which ends up being a humiliating betrayal disguised as generosity, and Chip doesn't understand why he's upset. When Steven, just the awkwardness of that conversation over breakfast the next morning, he's like, it's okay, you can pay next time.
Oh, boy.
Pay for what?
Yeah, that was...
Yeah. Just, and how long that moment just lasts when nobody says anything. And he's like, what do you mean, pay for what?
Yeah.
Chip responds, well, no, here. Steven kind of learns the truth about the woman from the night before, and he explodes. This is where he kind of finally stands up for himself. He kicks Chip out, makes it clear the friendship is over. For Steven, he's got to reclaim some of these boundaries. For Chip, it is rejection, and he does not handle rejection well. It's the breaking point that kind of flips the movie from a dark comedy into outright, like, psychological thriller, psychological warfare type stuff. Chip responds the only way he knows how, Rwenge. He systematically dismantles Steven's life by getting him arrested for stolen property, humiliating him in front of his family, costing him his job by broadcasting an insulting recording to his employer. Each one of these acts is carefully designed to isolate Steven completely, just like Chip is kind of isolated himself over the course of his life. As things start to spiral, Rick, his friend, digs into Chip's past, uncovers the truth. Chip Douglas is a fake name. His real name is Larry Tate. Maybe. And he's been fired before for stalking customers and using aliases. This revelation reframes everything. Chip isn't just awkward or lonely. He's dangerous, and he is deeply unstable.
Yes.
Chip's obsession shifts toward Robin, believing he can fix Steven's life by controlling it. After calling Steven to say he's visiting her, Chip lures Robin to the central satellite dish. Steven races there, terrified that Chip has finally crossed an irreversible line, and this time it's not just social sabotage that is at stake. Steven arrives just in time to save Robin as Chip climbs the satellite dish, ranting about needing to kill the babysitter to stop people from turning out like him. Chip falls into the dish, knocking out TV signals across the city, but survives the fall. He ultimately apologizes, Steven forgives him, and as Chip is airlifted away, he smiles when the paramedic calls him buddy and asks, "Are you really my buddy?" And we worry that the cycle is going to start all over again.
Yes.
All right. Those are the major moments. Now let's get into some deeper thoughts.
And now, Deep Thoughts.
I have an opinion on this matter.
Don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think?
I like it a lot.
Wow. It's very deep. Thank you.
All right. Do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
I saw it recently. So I just saw it within the last day or so.
Oh, okay. This was your first time watching it.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I did not see it in I don't think I saw it in theaters. I might have. I feel like, I mean, I was a big Jim Carrey fan at the time, so it's possible I saw this one in the theater, but I don't recall if I did or not. At the very least, I know I probably watched it on video not too long after it would have come out.
Right.
So I enjoyed this movie. Like, I think part of this movie, the part that I enjoyed was definitely, it was Jim Carrey, and that was the time when he was like at the top of his game. I had enjoyed all of his other movies from the last several years, you know, The Mask and Ace Ventura, and at that time, Batman Forever, all that stuff. And so when this one came out, not only was it's Jim Carrey, it's a little bit more, I think at the time, as I'm getting a little bit older, I felt like this seems like a little bit more mature Jim Carrey movie. So maybe this is growing up with me, and this feels more adult than maybe some of the other Jim Carrey stuff has up to this point. But it's also chock full of movie and TV references.
Okay.
And if anything, my brain, since I was a middle school kid, was kind of a sponge encyclopedia for movie and TV references. And I think what's funny is now, like, you and I and people that we are friends with, you know, people that we work with, like Jeff and Dennis and Bo and like all of us together. Sometimes when we converse in movie quotes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people do that. Like nowadays, I think a lot of people, that is one of the ways that they converse with each other. I don't think that was as much the case. I'd say, you know, maybe a little bit back in the 80s and the 90s. I don't know. I feel like it maybe is a little bit of a bigger thing now. But I also think that this movie was one that when I looked at it, I was like, this guy talks in movie quotes.
Right.
Like, I feel like this guy, you know, not the weird, creepy ways, but I think his brain works a little bit the same way mine does.
Okay.
Like in a lot of situations, my brain will immediately switch to, here's a movie quote that goes with what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the reasons I enjoyed this, because it was Jim Carrey. It seemed a little bit more adult than the other Jim Carrey stuff that had happened before this. And it was, and even not only that, like there were the movie and TV references that I got. I was like, you know, Captain America. I understood that reference.
Right.
But there were also so many that when he said them, I was like, I don't know where that's from. I think it's funny, but I don't know where it's from. I'm going to find out where it's from. And then that would lead me to, like, you know, look for other stuff.
Yes.
So I think that's that's my first experience with this movie. Is I don't recall if it was in the theater, but it was definitely soon after it came out if it wasn't in the theater. And I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed this one when it came out. I've seen this one several times over the years. It's not, you know, it's not like top of the list. I'm watching it once a year kind of a deal. But I think I've watched this, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times in the 30 years that it's been out. So,
right.
Yeah. So for you, this is brand new. Like, what are your kind of initial thoughts on this one?
Yeah. You know, I've heard so much about it, all the things, right? Jim Carrey. I think I said this earlier. Jim Carrey, The Incredible Payday. Mm-hmm. It's a different type thing. Yeah. I was reading that that a lot of the critics in that had a hard time placing this, or maybe the fans that kind of write in with the fan reviews, and they, you know, is it a comedy, a dark comedy? What? And then they said, you know what? If you look at this movie as basically just a stalker movie with a comedian playing one of the leads, and that will inherently bring their comedy to it, it's really just like a stalker movie with some humorous sections in it. Mm-hmm. Right? Like that's once I placed that and realized, okay, this isn't just a comedy but yeah, it's just a stalker movie.
Yeah.
Tends to have more humorous moments. Then the movie made sense and I could just relax and kind of like let it go. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, not, okay, what is this movie? What am I watching? And that made all the sense in the world.
Yeah. So
that was kind of my first thing, is just how to frame this movie. And then the rest is, I liked it. Great performances. Jim Carrey was fantastic in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the different movie references in this, like I went to go try to look up a list of like, what is everything that gets referenced in this movie. And there's so much that is going on in this. It just even like the name dropping, like when they do the list of names of like, well, here's the aliases he's gone by. It's Jean-Luc Picard. It's the Big Ragu. It's Murray Slaughter. It's, all these different names. Gone by Larry Tate, Darren Stevens, like all these different stuff. I'm like, that's from that show, Star Trek: The Next Generation. I mean, of course, there's the super famous fight in the middle of the Medieval Times arena, and this was my first experience learning that there was such a thing as Medieval Times. When I saw this movie, and I thought, well, that seems like a fun place. I got to go there at some point.
And you found out it is a fun place.
I found it is a fun place. It is. At that point, I was a little bit too old. Like my kids, my son actually went down because you can go down onto the arena floor and they'll do they'll teach you how to sword fight, and you could get knighted with a little wooden kid sword and everything else. I learned I was slightly too old to go do that by the time we went there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole fight scene that recreates is it Time Amok, the Star Trek episode where Kirk and Spock have to fight with each other?
That was incredible.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden they hand him those weapons, and he starts singing like the old Star Trek fight music. That's outstanding.
Yeah. And then just some of the other stuff too. Towards the end of the movie, there's a scene where like his eyes turn white and the lights go all neon and he starts chasing after them. That is totally like old school, 1970s Incredible Hulk kind of TV show stuff.
Yep.
Where he slam dunks the basketball in the game, and the glass shatters, and it looks so much like the Highlander in that movie when like all the windows are shattering and everything else.
Yes.
The different references, if you build it, he will come kind of stuff, or the silence of the lambs, or there was another one. Oh, there was one, because I know Broderick was on a few years ago with us to talk about It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. And one of the lines is a line quoting from that movie from Ethel Merman. What are you waiting for, an engraved invitation? Quoting from that one too. So there's so many things that he's quoting from other movies. I will say the funniest one, which led me to, and those that are trying to keep to family friendly stuff, don't go looking for this one. But to me, one of the funniest ones is the scene where Steven is in jail. And he shows up there as his attorney or whoever he's supposed to be, and basically is talking to him through the glass there as they're on the telephones, and puts his hand up against the glass. He's like, "You need human contact. Go ahead, touch it." And he's like, "No, I'm not touching it." And all of a sudden he starts unbuttoning shirt. "Don't do that. You're going to get me killed here." And the moment from, have you ever seen Midnight Express?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, it teaches you don't ever want to spend time in a Turkish prison, but he recreates. Now it's a very different, because in Midnight Express, there's a woman that is in that particular scene, but Jim Carrey does his own version of that and presses himself up against the glass of the window to the chagrin of Steven, but to the joy of one of the inmates nearby, who gives a little wink and blows a little kiss to Steven when he sees what's going on there. But I feel like at different times, I pulled the sound for it, because I feel like at different times we might have used this, just among our friend group, to just be awkward or weird with each other. So here it goes.
Oh, Billy.
And that whole scene, like I start dying when that scene comes on. My other favorite part of that is not just the "oh, Billy" part. It's like the crying afterwards. And I feel like that's the other part of it. Is it's not just the "oh, Billy," it's the and kind of the stuff he does. There's a moment too. Was it when he does the "silence of the lambs" part? And it was a different take in the trailer than it was in the actual movie, because in the trailer, he's not laughing. And in the actual movie, I feel like it's almost an outtake, because when he puts the skin on his face, the like chicken skin on his face, and he goes, "Look, silence of the lambs." In the actual movie, when he says lambs, you can hear him start to laugh. And in the trailer, he's not laughing at all. And that I love when I'm watching Saturday Night Live or movies or other stuff, when the comedian starts to crack themselves up. Like, that's one of my favorite times. When they break character, when you get the outtakes, that to me, I love that stuff. So the fact that kind of got left in, I think about when in Rogue One, when K2SO slaps Cassian and he has to like cover his mouth so you can't see him laughing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's that kind of stuff. And I feel like that must have happened so much on the set of this movie. But
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I have a question for you. Since this was the first time you saw this.
Yes.
One of the things I've kind of wondered about this movie, especially in the last several years, as you and I are teachers, we've mentioned this before on the show, and I think a lot of what we see, we've seen a change in how people, and especially students, kind of the way learning takes place because of devices and media and things like that. So I'm watching the movie this time around. And I'm wondering in my head as I'm watching this, I'm like, this is not just a like slapstick black comedy kind of a deal. It's taking it, especially the second half or last third of the movie, it takes a turn into it's identity theft. He's forcing himself upon this friendship. You know, things escalate when he gets rejected. It's kind of I know what's best for you and I'm going to do it, whether you want me to or not. And it kind of makes his character scary by the end of this movie.
Yeah.
But then as you're thinking about it, you're like, what is the message that this movie is trying to send? And I'm not saying every movie has to have a message, but is it a warning about TV addiction? Like, that was what I was trying to think through watching it this time around. Is this a warning? Because by the end, he says, I got to kill the babysitter, and the babysitter is TV. I wonder if this movie had been made, let's say, 20 years later, would the message be the same? Is it about addiction to TV or entertainment? Or is it supposed to be maybe more about, you know, his mother didn't give him the emotional connection that he needed because she just plopped him in front of a TV instead of, you know, actually raising him? Did you get a sense that the message of this movie is nobody should get addicted to TV?
Yeah, I think that was one of the messages, right? Because, you know, growing up, it was always like, yeah, you watch too much, it'll rot your brain.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Or especially some of the shows that they put on. So I think there was one section that whatever the channels were, it was all the daytime talk stuff.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think that's a component of that. I don't know if the whole movie was based around that one thought, but I definitely think it was a theme that they put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and it was just because that's what his mom did. She just plopped him in front of the TV and walked out. Well, that's not parenting.
Right.
They don't explore it much more in depth than that, but that's okay because it's a PG movie and you just kind of introduce the concept so families can start having conversations. But I definitely think that was a theme that was in there.
Yeah. I felt watching it this time that this was kind of like, and the example is television, because at this point we didn't have smartphones. We didn't have, you know, the devices like we do now. We didn't have the internet like we do now. But I think part of it is it's kind of treating the idea that entertainment as a substitute for parenting is going to lead you down a bad path. It's maybe not just TV, but it's like it's more specific than that, because his mom, basically he's raised by TV. He's not just addicted to it.
Right.
The TV was his mother. I mean, he calls it his babysitter, but his dad was not there. His mom basically sat him in front of the TV and said, here you go, watch this. I got to go do some work.
Right.
And from that, because he didn't have human connection with actual people, he doesn't know how friendships work. Like, to him, these pop culture references, like, that's his language. That's how he talks. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's a little bit different when you and I and Jeff and Dennis and Bo and all of our other friends, when we talk movie quotes, I don't think that's us replacing normal conversation, because we have normal conversations. Like, we talk about our lives, we talk about our families, you know, we talk about stuff that's going on. It's not everything we talk about is in the frame of, all right, I got to use a movie quote to tell you how I'm feeling, kind of a deal.
Right.
But for him, he does. He has to, because that's the only language he really knows. TV has taught him how friendships work. Like, you know, think of a sitcom. You got 30 minutes in a sitcom. You got friends got to be instantly close to each other. You got to resolve the conflicts in about half an hour. You know, loyalty is immediately given and permanent. Like it doesn't change. So it's very much like the very black and white kind of life that you would see characters living on a TV show.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the part that makes him, while there are scenes in this where he seems, I don't want to say evil, but he seems definitely bad. I think another part of that, too, is he's not bad. He's just drawn that way. He's not bad. He's just been, I don't know what word I want to use. He's been raised by the media. So that's more, it's more tragic than it is any kind of like evil. It's like, well,
yes.
Well, how could he possibly help this? He didn't have anybody else. Nobody taught him except for the shows he watched on TV or the movies that he watched on TV.
Right. Right.
The other thing I thought of watching it this time, and I was going to ask you if this connection came to mind, or if my mentioning it now, if you think I'm, you know, off base with this at all. The movie that I started to think of watching this time around is this is almost like a little bit of a darker version of a What About Bob?
Yeah, it is. It is, because it's like a riff on the, almost like the stalking thing.
Right.
Which is totally not, it's interesting because that's like no one really perceives Bob as that, except for the rich, who plays the main character.
Dreyfuss.
Gene Hackman. What?
Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, he sees it as a stalker type thing. So yeah, that's an interesting comparison.
Yeah. And I thought of that this time. I was like, I was trying to think, like, what is this reminding me of? It's reminding me a little bit of like the darker parts of this are reminding me of like Misery and The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. And there were a couple others that I mentioned before, but then it also was making me think of like, this is like, if you made What About Bob a little darker and a little more twisted, this could be a kind of What About Bob type situation. Which also seemed weird when I read up on other people they had considered to play the Jim Carrey part.
Mm-hmm.
So originally, they had talked about Ben Stiller, the Ben Stiller that directed the movie. Originally, I think they talked about him playing Steven instead of Matthew Broderick. One of the people that they had looked at to possibly play Chip, to play Jim Carrey's part, was Chris Farley.
Okay.
I was like, that would be a very different movie.
Yeah.
If the cable guy was played by Chris Farley, and I think even Adam Sandler got looked at one point. That's a really, I feel like that's a really different movie. Not that Adam Sandler can't play that part. I don't know if I can see Chris Farley playing that part. But I've seen Adam Sandler do stuff that's a little bit more serious, so I could see him doing it.
Sure.
But that's a very different movie if it's Chris Farley or Adam Sandler, either way, playing this part.
Right. Hard agree.
Yeah. So part of this too, I think at the time people really must have looked at this and thought, this is too dark for Jim Carrey. Like this is too weird. I feel like some people might have even felt that way when Robin Williams in the 2000s had a couple of horror movies where it was like psychological thriller movies where he played the bad guy. And you don't typically think of Robin Williams as being the bad guy. Like he's not the villain. And I think a lot of people didn't care for those movies because I think they went to go see it and they were like, ugh. But this is Popeye and Adrian Cronauer and Mr. Keating from the Teacher movie and
Right.
I think it probably weirded some people out. I'm wondering if the same thing happened with this. They're like, but Jim Carrey, he's the goofy guy. Why is he creepy now?
Yes.
And why is everybody in this movie creepy? Like, I do feel like that's one of the things about this movie is that's why I think the whole thing is meant to throw you off a bit, is because none of the people in this movie are likable.
Right.
Not a single one of them. Steven, for as much as the movie's kind of about him, he's not a great guy either. Like, he does all kinds of stuff that you're looking at going, well, why are you? Well, of course you're kind of leading him on. Like, you
right.
Set up some boundaries. If you didn't want this to happen, maybe don't accept the, extravagant gift from the person you just met. Maybe don't do this. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't bribe the guy in the first place. So that is one of the things about the movie is there's nobody likable in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think going into this, if you're assuming it's just another Jim Carrey movie. Oh, no, it's the tone is weird in this movie. I'll fully admit that it's too dark for a Jim Carrey movie. It's almost too funny to be a psychological thriller.
Okay.
And the tone is a bit off.
Right.
So I still enjoy it, but I can see why some people might have gone to the theater and been like, yeah, this is not what I thought I was coming to see.
Right. Right. And when people want to check out a stalker movie, they might end up picking Misery or one of the other ones that we mentioned at the outset as opposed to this because it has that in-between feel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Which is interesting because later on he's going to go on to do a few different movies that are a little bit more dark comedy. So later on he does Man on the Moon. Later on he does Eternal Sunshine. And I was trying to remind myself the names of them because one of them I think came out when I was still working at the movie theater in college. He had a couple of movies in the mid 2000s that were like straight up horror movies.
Right.
Like there's no guessing. Like it was a straight up horror movie. I think one of them, let's see. So Eternal Sunshine, not a horror movie. Eternal Sunshine came out in 2004. I think that was maybe just before I was starting to work at the movie theater. No, actually, he kind of took a little bit of a break during that time. He had Bruce Almighty, was kind of right around the early 2000s. So I think some that had a little bit of a different take, like a different tone to them. The Andy Kaufman movie, Man on the Moon, had a little bit of a different tone. That Me, Myself, and Irene, did you ever see that one? That is the one where he's like a cop with dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah.
And so he plays a couple of different characters that it's a little off.
Yes.
So there's that one. So that was kind of right around this time. He did a horror movie. I want to say, I think on the list here, it was like in 2007 called The Number 23. And I remember that one because there was like this real creepy, like it's an extreme close up of his face. And it's almost like his face is all cracked and, he's like hair hanging down in his face and hasn't shaved in a while. And
right.
And let's see, it's the description on here. Walter Sparrow becomes obsessed with a novel that he believes was written about him as more and more similarities between himself and his literary alter ego seem to arise. And it's more a serious movie, actually directed by Joel Schumacher. So yeah, that one I remember. I don't remember if I've seen that one, but that one was definitely more of kind of a straight up, like this is a horror type movie or this is a psychological thriller type movie, rated R. But yeah, I feel like it's kind of an interesting time in his career because this one, you kind of follow this one up with how far is he from Truman Show? Because I feel like there's a lot about this movie and Truman Show that those two have in common, mostly because it's so focused on TV and entertainment and, what happens when you grow up this way. But it's a very different look at it. Like Cable Guy is the black comedy, awkward, psychological thriller kind of a deal. Truman Show, I feel like, sometimes I almost feel like Truman Show, if you didn't have Jim Carrey playing the main part in Truman Show, you could have had Tom Hanks do it.
Yeah.
And you'd get the same kind of feel, like the same kind of look and feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but interesting because I feel like there's a lot of similarities. Like he's growing up in a TV show in Truman Show. He kind of got raised by TV shows in The Cable Guy, but it's
right.
Two very different ends of the spectrum.
Yes. Yes, yes.
All right. Do we have anything else we want to say about The Cable Guy?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all.
Okay. All right. Well, it's time for 3 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, question number 1. What was your favorite cable channel?
Easy. Speed Vision.
Ah, there you go. I'm not even going to guess anything other than it's all about race cars.
Race cars and race motorcycles.
Okay.
Maybe some boats too.
Okay.
But it just covered everything that like the networks didn't carry.
Sure.
So it came out like turn of the century.
Yeah.
And it just, I love the channel. And it was like, you know, you have, well, geez, the Indy cars was still split. So, you know, one channel carried IRL races. One channel took Champ Car. One channel where, you know, every channel had NASCAR. Formula One, if you had ESPN, you could get it, but then along comes Speed Vision, and they would like cover European racing and championship sports car racing and endurance racing and motorcycle racing and World Superbike, MotoGP. Everything was on that channel. I want to say F1 was on that channel for a bit too. I don't know, but the point was it was great because you could just put it on, like have it on 24 hours a day, because it was always showing you different kinds of racing and super exciting.
Nice. Yeah, as a kid, even as a little kid, I loved MTV. Like that was I'd sit there and I'd just watch music videos. I mean, Thriller, when Thriller came on when I was a little kid, ZZ Top had their Legs video. Like that was prime MTV watching time. But I think between that, especially as a kid, MTV and Nickelodeon were always kind of the big ones, because you had, what's the one, talk about, we gave a shout out a little while back to the Shirley podcast guys. They did a real funny video leading into some of their episodes where I think Dee got slimed because they were talking about you can't do that on television.
Huh.
And that was the Nickelodeon piece too. And then you had all the game shows. You had like Double Dare and you had all that. So Nickelodeon was like a constant growing up. So between that and MTV, that was like childhood stuff. By the time I was getting older, I think high school time, it was probably more Comedy Central and Sci-Fi Channel. Because Comedy Central was, you know, you had South Park, you had The Daily Show, you had, you know, some of the other stuff they were doing on Comedy Central. Some of the like comedy stand-up stuff was on there from time to time. And then the Sci-Fi Channel was just, you know, that's where you were going to see sci-fi movies. You know, you were going to see either, you know, Star Wars or Stargate or anything that has star in the title, or sci-fi TV shows, or I think at some point later, maybe after I wasn't watching it as much, I think that's where you had like all the Sharknado movies were starting to come out on the Sci-Fi Channel. But just, I don't know. I just remember there being a lot of really fun stuff on the Sci-Fi Channel. Sliders, I think at one point, maybe that TV show was on Sci-Fi.
Remember Sliders?
Yeah. And yeah, just a lot of fun stuff on the Sci-Fi Channel. So I think by the time I got a little bit older, it was more along the lines of like Sci-Fi, Comedy Central, that kind of stuff. But as a kid, I think I was locked in to MTV, especially as a kid, like between MTV and Nickelodeon. Like those were the two. Although, like even getting older a little bit, like the Nick at Night stuff, like that was always fun too. Whenever you get to watch the old TV shows with the Nick at Night, that was always a good time. All right. Question number 2. If you are, so we're recreating the medieval times arena fight. What fight from a movie or TV show are you recreating in the medieval times arena?
Oh, that's a hard one. Which fight?
Yeah, I had to think about this one for a little bit, but I did finally knock it down.
See, could go Gladiator. See, I feel like what they chose with the Star Trek, where it was Spock was having, it was when Spock had that like weird, Ponfar bloodlust thing going on.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. I feel like every other choice is just not going to be as good.
You know why Spock was having why they chose that fight in the arena there at Medieval Times? Because it was like Ponfar-esque kind of stuff.
Do I know why?
Yeah, because they had to eat their food with their fingers and like the Vulcans, their finger stuff. And yeah, that's right. That's how Ponfar starts.
That's the way it starts.
Is you're eating finger foods, and then all of a sudden everything goes
someone loses it.
Everything goes off the
someone
rails.
Loses an eye.
Mm-hmm. The KFC commercial on Vulcan, they have to change it. You can't say finger licking good because somebody's, yeah.
Right.
That's not going to go over well.
Right. So here's my challenge is I'm thinking of it, okay, recreating a fight. But it's not like you're reenacting it and like choreographing it out. It's like basically what fight has some really fun weapons to swing at each other.
Yeah.
Gosh, this is a hard one. All right, what did you come up with?
So the one I came up with, I thought could be kind of fun in that kind of context. I came up with the fight between Inigo Montoya and the Dread Pirate Roberts.
All right.
So I came up with the sword fight from Princess Bride, because then you can have the whole stuff of, why are you smiling then? Because I know something you don't know. I am not left-handed. So I feel like that could be fun. Like that could be part of your Medieval Times arena fight.
Yeah,
if you want ridiculousness, though, if you want some of the ridiculous factor of what could go on in that fight, I feel like you kind of need the fight scene from They Live.
Okay.
That alleyway fight. Do you remember when we did that movie?
I do.
There was that alleyway fight between Roddy Piper and I'm blanking out on the other actor's name.
Yeah, but I remember it.
Yeah. Oh, was it Keith David? I think it was Keith David.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that could be another fun one, because when they're fighting each other in that was a fun scene.
Yes. That was a very fun scene. Yeah, I'm struggling with this question because, like, okay, I could say, like, Bruce Lee and, Chuck Norris recreating their fight. But that's an awesome fight. And it's not like you're going to go to Medieval Times, suit up and recreate it, right? Like, sure. I need something with the weapons to really be a good answer to this question. And John, I'm just struggling with it.
You could do a comedic version of the Empire Strikes Back lightsaber duel.
Yeah, I was thinking like a lightsaber duel would be good. I suppose, you know what? I suppose it would be a lightsaber duel, and I would pick from Phantom Menace.
There you go.
I think that would be the one I'd recreate.
That would, and the funny part of that is somehow you got to find a way to recreate the fact that Darth Maul is hanging like in a pit somewhere, and yet it's all level.
Right.
Yeah. So somehow you got to like find a way to get him hanging off of something so that he can flip up and get chopped in half.
Right. Right. Hard question. Deceptively hard.
Yeah. All right. Final question, number 3. This is a segment we like to call the 30-something food podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best food to eat without utensils? Because in medieval times, they didn't have utensils, my lord.
Okay. This is going to be a lame answer.
That's fine.
Like popcorn. I just love munching on popcorn. And the thing is, like, I eat it and I end up throwing popcorn all over the place because I like end up throwing it at my mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I can't slow down and eat a couple of pieces of popcorn. Mm-hmm. So it's just like grabbing and so I think that's the most fun food for me to eat with my hands.
That's an excellent answer. Every time I go to a movie, I have to have popcorn. Like it's kind of a requirement. In fact, we went to go see a movie a few days ago and got a chance to have some movie theater popcorn. So that was a nice ending to the winter break.
Yes.
Excellent movie too. So this episode will probably come out by the time this movie is no longer in theaters, but we went to go see it's not a biopic, but it's about the couple from Wisconsin that were the Neil Diamond impersonators.
Mm-hmm.
It's Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson. And it was awesome. Like Hugh Jackman plays this guy who's kind of like an impersonator, entertainer, and it's a true story. Like it's this couple that are from Wisconsin, and he was trying to find a way to, get his impersonator persona more recognition. And he kind of realized, he's like, look, nobody does Neil Diamond. I love Neil Diamond. I'm going to start doing Neil Diamond. And he ends up kind of meeting this woman who she's like, I'm going to help you because I think that's a great idea. And eventually they like fall in love with each other. They get married and all that. It was a really good movie. Like we really, really enjoyed it. The only warning I would give is there are some moments in the movie where things take a sharp and serious left turn. So we're watching the movie and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. I didn't see the documentary this is based on. I didn't know that was coming. So that's a bit of a surprise, but okay.
Yeah.
Let's go on with the movie. But very, very good. It's called Song Sung Blue.
Okay.
So that was a good one. Best food to eat without utensils. So I think I'm gonna +1 your popcorn.
Yeah.
But I'm also, as a Texas boy, I think I gotta say barbecue ribs. I think I gotta throw that in there.
Yeah.
I mean, popcorn.
Oh, yeah.
Popcorn, definitely, but I don't know. I think I got to go ribs. I think I can't. As a Texan, I'm not sure I can respect myself if I don't say barbecue ribs. We'll say barbecue ribs. We're going to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got it covered then.
And if somebody wants to make barbecue rib flavored popcorn, that's good too.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, although the popcorn that I did pick up because I knew I needed to have some for the winter break time was the Chicago mix, the caramel and the cheddar.
Ooh, yeah.
I had to get some of that. So I hadn't had some of that in a long time. And I bought some like just as we were going on winter break, might have lasted 3 days.
Yeah.
If even. Yes. So. All right. That is going to do it for The Cable Guy. And that's going to do it for us. So if you want to find more of our episodes, if you haven't gotten sick and tired of us up to this point, you want to find more of our stuff, it's 30podcast.com. That you can get access to all of our 627 other episodes other than this one. And then on Patreon, we've got at least about 100 or so episodes over there as well. So go check us out over there. This month has been our January Double Lives month. So we have done Mission Impossible, Multiplicity, The Phantom. This week was Cable Guy. On Patreon, we're doing Freeway from 1996 with Kiefer Sutherland and a very young Reese Witherspoon. And then our Patreon short is Nash Bridges, which started in 1996. So I'm going to talk about that one for a little bit on that episode. And then next month, because this is the last week of the month of January for us, next month we are doing okay, so the title for this month was a little bit of a stretch.
Okay.
And maybe the grouping of the movies slightly a bit of a stretch too. The title for the month of February is Charlie, They Took My Thumb, movies where limbs have been severed. Sometimes it takes some effort to figure out how we're going to put the movies together. The movies next month are at some point, someone has some type of a missing or severed limb. So the movies we're doing next month is Muppet Treasure Island, because there's pirates.
Okay.
They have hooks. There's Happy Gilmore.
Okay.
He has a fake hand because the gator got it.
Price is Wrong.
Exactly. Kingpin.
Okay.
Okay. And Star Trek First Contact, because the Borg, they replace parts with Borgy parts. And then our Patreon. If you're over on Patreon, our Patreon episode for next month is going to be Batman from 1966, which if you want to, if the shark had been successful, it would have taken off Batman's leg.
Right.
If he had not had his bat shark repellent handy. So it's been a while since I've seen that one. So I'm looking forward to seeing the 66 Batman movie too.
That'll be a good time.
Commodore Schmidlap. One of the greatest movie names of all time.
Yes.
Commodore Schmidlap. All right. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Pat, thank you for being here with me.
Thank you, John. This was fun.
All right. Everybody, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies, and we will see you back here next time.